Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Special Report, your news and views program about geek gaming culture on the internet. Come up in the show today, Jessica Price and apparently Peter Freeze have been terminated from ArenaNet following the controversy surrounding Price's response to what a Guild Wars 2 content creator had said in discussion of something that Jessica Price had posted initially. We're going to talk about all the details about what this means and how quickly this ended up happening. All of this, and because we're going to continue to celebrate the life and the legacy of somebody who, get this, Jessica Price actually said something about, we're going to do the OC remix track of the day as well. My name is JD Shadow, and the Special Report is going to start right about now. In case you were enjoying your 4th of July celebrations yesterday, you probably did not hear about the Jessica Price controversy and what it had to do with Guild Wars 2 content creator by the name of Deroir. In case you are not familiar with this whole situation, Jessica Price initially made a long Twitter thread detailing why she does not think that MMORPGs are suitable to be able to do branching storylines. Now, even though I disagree with her sentiment, you could probably say this has room for an actual discussion to take place. It is something that I talked about in length in one of my other videos, in which I will link you to what happened in the description below this video, because I go into great detail about what she had said. However, this sparked Deroir to respond to what she has said, and given the fact that he is a male responding to a female, you could probably figure out what this will eventually boil down to because of the headline that you have probably seen by now. Keep in mind that Deroir never brought up her gender. He never actually attacked her, just gave her his own 2 cents on the issue, in which sparked an actual discussion, or would have sparked an actual discussion if it wasn't for what she said in response to him. And that is what brought up this whole controversy, in which she claimed that he attacked her for being a female game developer. And then not only that, but Peter Freeze joined in on the fun, saying that people were mansplaining to her when there was no such things happening, because no mention of gender was ever brought up in the discussion. This had essentially brought the entire community of Guild Wars 2 in a bit of a flux, because quite frankly they enjoy the game, they like the game, but this was basically the straw that broke the camel's back in a way. We do know that some of the people who have made Guild Wars 2 are kind of outspoken on some aspects of gaming in the past few years. However, this was a bit too far. Many people saw that Deroir, who by the way is a content partner on ArenaNet and has also had a NPC in Guild Wars 2 named after him, as something that should have not happened, especially in the manner that Jessica Price went after him in a attack ad hominem way, but also completely ignoring what the original point was, what the original topic was all about. It's like he was not allowed to even debate what she was saying. And keep in mind that there have been a lot of criticisms lately about Guild Wars 2's Living Stories patches missing the mark lately in terms of how it brings about the story. What the Deroir was saying was essentially that right now the Living Story seems way too restrictive toward the player character, where there is really no room for character development on that player character. And while you could say maybe he's right in some ways, maybe they're wrong in some ways, the aforementioned response that he got from Jessica Price was unwarranted and uncalled for. And maybe people would think that this was just something that maybe she overreacted or missed what he was trying to say. However, Jessica Price has had some history dug up upon her, and let's just say this is a known thing that has been going on with her. She had said on her Twitter account that she quote-unquote blocks often. And in one particular tweet, she actually posts this gem saying, quote, like the next rando asshat who attempts to explain the concept of branching dialogue to me As if you know, having worked in game narrative for an effing decade, I have never heard of it, is getting insta-blocked PSA. Well, she has taken into account to become the Steve Sheaves of ArenaNet, or was the Steve Sheaves of ArenaNet, following the development we just heard of today, because she has blocked so many people on Twitter right now, including myself. As I reported on yesterday in my Let's Talk series about this, she has blocked me. I have never interacted with her, or communicated with her, or even tagged her in anything. There is a particular reason why. It is because both Jessica Price and Peter Freeze, who also chimed in on the fun of all of this, is reportedly using those imported third-party block lists that have gotten a lot of controversy in of themselves. And personally, I do not think any person who is within the gaming industry should be using those in order to essentially blacklist those they don't agree with. But we'll talk more about that in just a minute. And more along the lines of her decade-long stint in the gaming industry, she was once a member of Paizo Publishing, which she had parted ways with before going to ArenaNet. Why ArenaNet decided to hire her is anyone's guess, seeing as though she has had a quite bit of history with what she has said over the course of 10 years, including some very juicy tweets that has came upon, including some things that she has said on her official Paizo page, which you can definitely see as if it was archived, and yes it was. Some very borderline tweets where you can safely say they were borderline racist. And you could say maybe they were or were not, but the second that we bring up this tweet right here, perhaps you might say a little bit differently. Because guess what she does? Guess what she ended up doing in that tweet? She actually celebrates the death of one Total Biscuit. You know, the one who died through stage 4 cancer last month and who was revered in the game industry. Saying, quote, the kindest thing I could say is I'm glad he's no longer around to keep doing harm. And when was asked who passed, she actually had the gall, she actually had the nerve to say Total Biscuit, but leave out the vowels, to say censoring the name. Why? What in the world makes you have the gall to want to even do that, to even go into that frame of mind? And to make matters worse, Deroir is not the only one that she ended up attacking. There was another Guild Wars 2 content creator who had tried to stick up for Deroir, and doing it in a way that was very, very cordial and extremely constructive. And you probably know him by the name of MMO Inks. And Jessica Price decided that once wasn't enough, she was going to go after another one. And that's probably what sparked Mike O'Brien to do what he ended up doing in just a second. Yes, I know we're taking a while to get to the point of this special report, but bear with me. I want to say everything that had gone on before you hear what he had to say. Jessica Price said in a tweet saying, as an amateur fantasy writer, I would like to tell you, a professional fantasy writer, maybe listen to yourself and stop right there, my dude. Inks responded with, while it's odd that they would classify themselves and you as such, it's possible they still have or had valuable criticism. Another tweeter did chime in and saying, or maybe it wasn't valid criticism and was instead the same sexist stuff she has to put up with every single day. Either way, I trust her to be able to tell the difference. Only she did not. She used ad hominem attacks in order to deflect the criticism that had nothing to do about her gender or anybody's gender. Inks responded saying, perhaps we clearly do not know the whole story, but I didn't see the sexist comment from what was provided. I'd rather not assume someone's sexist rather than it was criticism valid or not. This apparently triggered Jessica Price, saying, weary stare, please go away. Inks responds, don't know what I said to upset you, but fair enough. Jessica Price then says, the comment I was talking about wasn't necessarily sexist. Your response implying my reaction was overblown or my experience of it didn't happen, however, is the shit women in games deal with every time we say anything about our experiences, and you just used your one pre-block strike. And again, she was the one who posted the initial rant on her Twitter account. Of course, people are going to respond to someone who posts that much stuff. Good lord, is she that disconnected from reality? We'll get to that. Inks then replies, I certainly wasn't trying to imply that it didn't happen. Your reaction in that first tweet without further context came across that their criticism, because they are an amateur, their words meant less. I would have responded the same regardless of sex or gender, which any of us would have done. But Jessica Price, because of course she would, saying, sure dude, now get out of my effing feed with your assumptions and your entitlement to my time. Probably he got blocked from her. Well, all of this finally gets me to something that Mike O'Brien posted on the ArenaNet English forums, and there's probably no surprise that he would respond, because at this point you were probably figuring out why hasn't ArenaNet as a whole came out to say something, because quite frankly the internet is blowing up from this. The Guild Wars 2 subreddit is, the Guild Wars 2 fanbase is, other gaming subreddits have done exactly the same thing. No one was on her side, no one was on Peter Freeze's side in this whole scenario. They were almost all exclusively on Deroir's side, and they were on Ink's side. Mike O'Brien posts today saying, quote, recently 2 of our employees failed to uphold our standards of communicating with players. Their attacks on the community were unacceptable. As a result, they're no longer with the company. I want to be clear that the statements they made do not reflect the views of ArenaNet at all. As a company, we always strive to have a collaborative relationship with the Guild Wars community. We value your input. We make this game for you, MO. And you have to think that one of those people was definitely Jessica Price, because she was the one at the center of this whole thing. She made herself to be the epicenter of this whole travesty that was going on. However, it is not particularly clear if it was Peter Freeze that was the other person that was fired. Some people were saying it was somebody else, but I would say, why would it be? Who else was involved in this whole thing? Peter Freeze was the person that was trying to defend her and joining in on the festivities that were going on. The fireworks, if you want to use the July 4th pun there. So yeah, you could probably see this was coming. This was something that had been overdue the second that she posted what she did on Twitter. And the only reason you could probably see that why ArenaNet didn't act sooner is because it was a July 4th holiday, and she decided that she was going to do this on July 4th. Maybe because she thought she could get away with it because no one was going to watch her when she was doing this. However, I have the feeling that my video, I would hope my video, in addition to all the backlash that was going on and the fact that Deroir and, for this matter, Inks was 2 of the top rated Guild Wars 2 content creators on the internet, and they were partnered with ArenaNet, and they are part of the reason why Guild Wars 2 is one of the more top rated MMOs as far as player base around right now. Just the fact that she was carefree in how she was wording her arguments and how she was conducting herself on Twitter and all other forms of social media, you could see that this was predictable. And I would like to think that our exposure helped this to happen. Do you think that maybe she should have been fired? If that was the only thing she had done, maybe it would be a little bit extreme. However, she has had a history of this. There is a long record of her doing this, and she seems to not care. She seems to be the type of person who is going to use her identity politics on everything. It seemed as though she was above everybody, that she was going to think that she was God's gift to Guild Wars 2, that she was somebody who should never be questioned. As she bluntly put it, she was way too blunt. And to be quite honest, ArenaNet hired her in October when Path of Fire was about to launch, and all of this stuff that was on record, ArenaNet should have known what they were getting themselves into when they were hiring her. And I could buy that maybe she was burnt out, or maybe she was just getting frustrated, but she has had a history of bringing these types of topics topics up in a most uncomfortable way. Yes, we can talk about identity politics. Yes, we can talk about the ramifications of gender within the workplace. We can talk about all those things, but separate that from the topics that have nothing to do about your gender. Again, Peter Freeze should have never interjected himself in that discussion for a couple of reasons. One, it made him out to be a hypocrite. He can chime into any discussion he wants to, but we can't chime into their discussions if we think is a good discussion to have. That is a by the book definition of a double standard. You can't get any more transparent than that. But it also strikes as not being self-aware, because no, he wasn't criticized as much as she was, because he wasn't the one that posted that rant. If he was the one that posted that rant, of course he would be the one that been targeted with constructive conversation, not an attack. That is just how things work. If you're the one who posts something like that and you never expect someone to reply to you, and then you blow up because someone replied to you, and then you use such attacks in order to silence people, to scare people into silence, then what do you expect people to say? What do you expect people to do? It is not going to go over well, especially if you're attacking one of the top rated content creators for your game. And then you keep going, you double, triple, quadruple down, you keep going. She then went and attacked Inks, who did nothing to her except to reiterate that there was no such sexist remarks aimed at her. There was nothing that she got that would warrant that type of reaction. She was conflating two completely different things and trying to make them into one thing. And that is something that is being frowned upon by a lot of people right now. People who engage in these kinds of discussions. And yes, there are good discussions to have about gender and the game industry and how that affects a lot of things. We can have that discussion, but they're scared to have that discussion because of people like Jessica Price, who is going to interject that kind of defense into everything she does. And then not only that, to react in the way that she did. There was no reason for her to react in that way. None. You cannot even imply, you cannot basically say that that was something that she was justified in doing. In her previous record, including the tweet that she made about Total Biscuit's death, you couldn't just wait to do that? As if you had to do that at all? It just seems as though Jessica Price was a toxic person through and through. And ArenaNet felt the need to hire her without checking up on any of this stuff, as if this was the reason why ArenaNet hired her. They should be ashamed that they even did so without looking at the facts there. I don't feel bad at all for her getting fired, because she has had a record of this. It is seen as though she is not going to learn. You can have a discussion about gender in video gaming. You can have a discussion about gender in the workplace. You can have a discussion about that. But don't conflate that with something that has nothing to do with that. And don't make yourself out to be uncomfortable to approach about these topics. Try to teach someone, not talk down to them. That is not hard to do. Now, as far as Peter Freeze is concerned, I'm not sure if he should have been fired or not, although I do understand that he has had a bit of a history with bringing that topic up in a more uncomfortable way before. Now, it's kind of hard to say what is uncomfortable, what is not, because that is subjective to a lot of different people. Maybe uncomfortable in a manner of not sure what will trigger people to snap at you or say that you're this or that, to not label you in a certain way, in a way that invites discussion rather than an argument. That's what I'm probably trying to bring up there. And so far, people like Jessica Price are part of the problem, not part of the solution. But this goes even further than that, because this also had to do with content creators and what they are allowed to say and what they are allowed to criticize. Because what if ArenaNet didn't do anything here and actually defended her here? What would have happened to other content creators or other reviewers that want to review content? Would this be in a slippery slope? Would people had to have been scared that their content would have been removed on the account that it was too critical about their product? This had a bunch of things that could have gone wrong there. And I highlighted a lot of things that could have gone wrong in the previous video. I don't want to go too much into that there because I already talked about it in the previous video. I do implore that you go watch that because it goes more in depth in there that I probably can in the special report. However, be it as it may, this was a good decision by Mike O'Brien. I just wish it happened sooner, and I do wish that they would have looked into Jessica Price's previous tweets and previous record before they hired her, because that would have saved us a ton of heartache and problems here. In this case, the price was not right. And that's going to do it for this edition of the special report. Thank you as always for watching, but before I go, I'm going to give you the OC remix track of the day, because if Total Biscuit was still alive right now and he would have seen this, oh, there would have been a 50-minute video concerning this, and yeah, he would have made heads roll. And let's do a track from probably one of my more favorite Mega Man games, Mega Man 5. This is from Night Swim. Crookman's Eyes is the name of this track. It is a remix of the Darkman stages, or the Proto Man stages in that game. I definitely like that music a lot, and it is a shame that I cannot find a pure remix of just the Wily stages in that game, because I do believe that those stages, though that music in those stages trumps the Mega Man 2 music of the Dr. Wily stages, if you can believe me saying that. That is a bold statement for me to make, is it? But here it is for your listening pleasure. Hopefully they are thankful for me doing this. My name's JD Shadow, and that just happened.